What's going on, movie fans? My name is Michael Weer. I love talking about movies, and the month of September has officially come to an end, or it did about a week ago, and I like to do little wrap-up videos here on my channel for the previous month where I talk about all the movies that I had a chance to see, and I rank them from worst to best. This video is a little late, and I'm sorry about that, but I did get real sick toward the end of September. Turned it around in the past couple of days, making some videos, putting out some content. You'll have noticed I dropped a few videos lately, and my voice is back to normal, which is also nice. But because of that sickness, and there were a couple movies that I wanted to make sure I saw it that I put on this list this month, I had to do this a little late, so sorry about that, but here it is. We're going to rank all the movies that I saw in September from worst to best. And just like previous videos I've made this year, there might be some movies that came out that I missed, so if they're not on this list, throw those in the comment section down below. Let me know what you saw this month and how you would rank them from worst to best. For me personally, there were two movies that didn't make this list. One was Dumb Money. I really wanted a chance to see it, but they took their time putting this thing out. Like, originally it was supposed to come out mid to early September, and then it was pushed a week, and it didn't come out till the very last day of September, and I just didn't have time to fit it into my schedule. And the other movie I didn't have a chance to see is Expendables 4, and while I've heard nothing but negative things in that movie, and it would probably be at the bottom of this list anyway, I just didn't have time. It might be a movie that I see later on in the year so that I can do a full wrap-up review of everything that came out this year, but it won't be on this list because I didn't have a chance to see it. But I did have a chance to see 8 movies, whether they were streaming or in theaters. So those are the movies we're going to rank here today. I'm excited to do it. Let's rank September of 2023 from worst to best. Coming in at number 8, guys, the bottom of the barrel, my least favorite movie in the month of September would be A Haunting in Venice. And this is a disappointing movie because I thought maybe they could have done something fresh with this and sort of reignited the franchise. They've made 3 of these Agatha Christie novels, and so far for me, it's 1 good one in Murder on the Orient Express and now 2 bad ones with both Death on the Nile that came out in 2022 and A Haunting in Venice. And A Haunting in Venice, I had sort of the same issues with. You've got a great cast, a great group of actors, you bring in this storyline, and I was like, you know what? Maybe they'll do better than they did in Death on the Nile because this has like a horror twist to it. It's a haunting in Venice. And there's one really cool scene in this movie with a seance, and that's it. The rest of this movie is boring, takes its time doing the wrong stuff, just like in 2022. They spend time with characters they don't need to spend time with. And then there's moments where they just zoom in on a character's face and only show you their face while they go on and on and on about their past. And you as a viewer just don't care. At this point, you don't even care who the murderer is. You just want the movie to end. So A Haunting in Venice is number 8. At number 7, guys, The Nun 2. This is the second movie in the Nun franchise, but technically the 9th in the overall Conjuring universe. And the Conjuring movies are so hit and miss. I mean, The Conjuring is a fantastic movie. The second Conjuring movie is good. The third is miss. And then you've got the Annabelle movies. Those are hit and miss. And then there's these sort of spin-off Elseworlds movies where you have The Nun and you have the La Llorona movie. So I didn't really know what to expect of this movie, if it was going to be really good or bad. The trailer was good. The trailer was decent. The problem was all the great parts were in the trailer. So when you go to watch this movie, there was nothing new on the screen. So I guess maybe if you go into this movie without ever watching a trailer, just like the first Nun movie, you'd be surprised at how good some of the scenes are. There's one scene with a magazine stand that is probably the best scene in the whole movie, but it's spoiled in the trailer. So before you get into the movie, it's like, all right, well, I've seen that. What other tricks do you have to show me? And they really don't have anything else to show you. Valak is definitely a lot more terrifying in this movie. Valak goes after people, is willing to kill just about anybody. And Valak kills a kid at the beginning of this movie. So you're like, oh, okay, so anybody can die. But then nobody really dies that's important. So they give you the idea that some main characters might die in this movie or that there could be real stakes. And when you end up getting into this movie, you're just like, oh, no, okay, so she's going to live because she's the friend of this person, and they're going to live because they're the teacher, and okay, so everybody's going to, okay, so there's not really any stakes. Okay, so the Nun just continues on. Okay. All right, that's fine. So The Nun 2 was a disappointment for those reasons, and that's why it makes number 7. At number 6, guys, we have a killer mannequin movie in Don't Look Away. And like I said, it's a killer mannequin movie. It's about a mannequin that once you see it, it follows you until it's able to kill you, and it'll just sort of be in the background during these different shots that the actors are talking to each other, getting closer and closer to them, and you never see the mannequin actually do anything. It always cuts away or finds a way to not show you how the mannequin's killing them, but they get killed. And it's an interesting concept, and as a low-budget horror movie, I don't want to talk badly about this movie too much because I get what they were going for, but I never would have picked a mannequin in like a million years because on top of it being a mannequin, they give it this really goofy face, and you end up laughing at the scenes that the mannequin shows up in, and those scenes in a horror movie should be scary. They also do something that's just really weird. They go into this whole side plot where one of the characters is basically Jack from The Shining and has all of these moments where he does stuff that Jack from The Shining does, and they never give you a reason for why he's like that or anything. It's not like he's possessed by the mannequin. It's just he's kind of a weird guy to start. He's kind of a non-caring boyfriend to start, and then he gets worse and worse and worse, just like Jack from The Shining. But there's no reason for it whatsoever. It's just, hey, we saw The Shining, we're making a horror movie, we need a couple more minutes to pad this thing out. Okay, we're gonna have a character that's basically Jack from The Shining and does a lot of things like Jack from The Shining. Down to writing on his computer, he's supposed to be writing this paper, and instead it just says mannequin the whole way. Like, there's no reason for it, and that was annoying, so it's at number 6. At number 5 is a movie I didn't get to make a full review for, but I did make a TikTok for it, so if you want to check out some of my quick thoughts on that, it's on my TikTok channel. And while we're talking about it, I'll just plug my TikTok channel. I do quick reactions right out of the theater on my TikTok channel, so if you guys like these full-length reviews or me talking about movies, or you just want to see real quick TikToks, well, my name is Michael Weer, and that's how you can find me on TikTok. But with that said, number 5 is It Lives Inside, and this is a movie about a teenage girl who has a friend that's kind of a weirdo who ends up bringing this jar to school, and she breaks that jar, and the jar opens and lets out a demonic presence that now goes after that teenage girl and her family and anyone that she comes in contact with or anyone that tries to help her defeat this thing. And the movie is a decent concept, and there's some okay scares in it. Where I had a problem with it, like most monster movies, is once the look of the monster is revealed, it's no longer scary. While the thing is invisible or barely showing up in shots, they get you with some jump scares. They do a good job. You know, anytime you see two girls talking to each other and one of their hair starts to float, you're like, okay, that's kind of creepy, because you don't know what it is. It's just your imagination working in the movie. But like most monster movies, once you see the monster, you're just like, all right, no longer scary. Okay, it's very rare that once they reveal the monster in some sort of a monster movie that it still stays that scary, and it just doesn't. So that last act, when they reveal the look of the monster, you're just kind of like, all right, that's what she's battling, and will she find a way to defeat it or not? And so it's sort of, the last act just sort of falls flat for me, but the first 2 acts were good. Overall, number 5, it's a good place to put this movie. At number 4, guys, we have a horror slash sci-fi slash alien invasion slash home invasion movie. It's streaming on Hulu right now, and it's called No One Will Save You. And it's about a girl who's isolated in this house. She's isolated from the town around her because of some events that they reveal later on in the movie, but the town does not treat her well. Nobody really talks to her, and since no one talks to her, the movie has very little dialogue. And while all this is going on in her life, there's an alien invasion going around the world, and when an alien comes to her house, she has to defeat it. And when she does, at first, you think, okay, well, she's beaten this alien, what's going to happen next? But the aliens continue to send more and more aliens, and they get scarier and bigger. And honestly, that's what I liked about it. When it came to the action scenes in this movie where she has to take on the aliens, they're really well done and they're really fun to watch. I like watching those aliens go from like a normal looking alien, or the alien you can kind of think about right now in your mind, to like a scarier, bigger version of that alien the more and more that they send after her. But where the movie starts to lose me is that the movie uses very little dialogue, and so all of the emotion that she has is really all of the character building that you get in this movie for the viewer. And that doesn't really work for me when it's just one main character. It works for me in movies like A Quiet Place because you've got a family, you've got a husband and wife bouncing their emotions off of each other, or kids bouncing their emotions off of each other or off their parents, and you can sort of work with that because you see how all of them feel and how all of them love each other so much. But when you have a story centered around one person and she's just conveying these emotions without words, she's not bouncing off of anybody but the viewer, and if you don't feel the same way, you just don't connect with it. At least that's what I got out of it. And so while I enjoyed this movie, I don't think it's a movie I'll ever go back to, so it's at number 4 on this list. At number 3, guys, we have the third movie in a franchise, and that would be The Equalizer 3. Didn't plan it that way, just kind of worked out that way. But as far as this movie goes, you've got Denzel Washington returning as the Equalizer in his role. And this is a movie I actually wasn't planning on seeing when I saw previews for it, just because I saw the first one back in the day, thought it was okay, and skipped the second one completely, so I wasn't going to go see this movie. And then my little brother was like, hey, you got to go see Equalizer 3 with me because they're fantastic movies, you're going to love it. So we went together, we checked it out, and honestly, it was fine. I had an enjoyable time with it. I thought they did a great job making Denzel Washington feel like an older assassin, sort of toward the end of his career. That all worked for me. The action scenes weren't so overblown that it was like, well, an old man couldn't do that. And they also didn't make the action the focus of this entire movie like a John Wick movie, so it wasn't competing in my mind for a John Wick title. So that worked for me as well. The only gripe I have with the movie is that the storyline itself really focuses on the viewer needing to see part 1 and part 2. So if you've not seen those movies, when they reveal some important stuff at the end, you're kind of lost. And that's how I was in the theater. I kind of watched this movie and I was like, all right, I don't really get it. But then my brother filled me in. He's like, yeah, if you watched part 2, then you would have known what was going on with this. And I understand it's the third movie in the franchise, so maybe that's on me, so that's why I put this higher on my list. But it might be in the 1 or 2 slot here on this list if they had made this story more individual to this movie instead of needing to see the previous movies. But it's still an enjoyable time, and it's always great watching Denzel Washington work, so Equalizer 3 is number 3. At number 2, guys, we have The Creator. This is a sci-fi movie that I believe will go down as probably the most overhyped movie of the year. And I have it at number 2 in September. So I'm not trash talking it. I'm just saying that people are talking about, no one ever goes to see original movies anymore. Everyone needs to go see The Creator right now. And I watched it, and it's beautiful to watch. It visually is beautiful to watch. But there's not much new about it. You got a storyline where mankind creates AI turns on mankind, and now mankind is going to try to eradicate the different AI robots around the globe. And of course, you've got some humans that are sympathetic to them, so that's where your conflict comes in, because now you've got humans and robots working together versus basically America, because America's pissed because supposedly AI set off a nuclear bomb in Los Angeles. So you've got the Americans that are upset and they're going into these different countries, killing all these robots. And if you're a sympathizer to them, they're killing you too. So none of that's really new. I mean, you have man creates AI turns on man, and then man has to fight AI all the time. I do think there's decent acting throughout this movie. I believe the characters. I had a fun time with it, but it just didn't feel new. The reason why this movie's so high up on this list is it genuinely is better than the previous 6 movies we've talked about on this list. But overall for the year, this is probably a movie somewhere in the mid 30s, 40s from the 70 plus movies I've already watched this year. Again, it just didn't feel as new as the internet was making it out to be. So I don't know, maybe it's one of those stories where I should just stay off the internet, go in with no expectations, and maybe I would have enjoyed it that much more. So The Creator is number 2. At number 1, guys, we have Saw X. Saw X is a movie that I think did a lot of things right, had a lot of things going for it. You had Tobin Bell returning as John Kramer, the Jigsaw Killer. He knocked it out of the park. You had Shawnee Smith returning as Amanda. She knocked it out of the park. I thought both of them did their roles very well. It was great getting to see Saw X in a crowd of people watching those traps happen, because in the last couple of years, the Saw movies that have come out haven't had big crowds. So it was fun watching this movie with a crowd, and all of us kind of like, watching those traps happen. That was cool. The movie sort of lost me when they tried to give John Kramer and Amanda a sweet send-off when this movie takes place between the events of Saw 1 and 2. It's like, no, these people are then going to go mass murder a ton of people. I don't think they should get such a sweet send-off. But I understand overall for the actors, it kind of makes sense to give them a sweet send-off. So Saw X is my favorite movie in the month of September. But with that said, I have to add that September was kind of a weak month, and it might be the weakest month in all of 2023, unfortunately. All 8 of these movies are movies that I don't know if I'd ever sit down and rewatch again. And that's too bad, because there were some movies in here that I was really hoping were going to be great. Like The Creator, like Saw X, like No One Will Save You. Those movies looked intriguing going into them, and they're all sort of one-watches for me. But with all that said, those are the movies that I'm ranking from worst to best in September of 2023. Like I said before, if you've seen any of these movies and you've got thoughts and you've got comments, throw those in the comment section down below. And if you had a chance to check out movies that I didn't get a chance to check out in September, throw those in the comment section as well. Let me know what you thought of them and if I should watch and review them here on this channel. And as always, guys, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, because it helps the video, it helps the channel, and it helps me right here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. All right, guys, we got through September of 2023. I hope you had a good September. I hope you got to check out some movies. If throughout the month of September you didn't know that I was running a Saw franchise review series, well, you can check out that whole series right there. I will be doing a ranked list of all of my favorite Saw movies from worst to best, and it'll be out on the channel in the next month. And finally, guys, if you want to check out any of my 2023 reviews, maybe more than just the month of September, maybe other movies from this year, you can check that out right there.